Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to ISRC TV for round number 3 of the Aquiver eSports Championship. Today you're joining us at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, just north of Toronto, Canada, where we will be going for a 1 hour long race with the GT3 cars and LMP2s. That is the GT3s in iRacing, all except the Ford GT3 and BMW GT3. And over the next hour, you'll be having myself, Harry Harvey, and Martin Pearce will be guiding you through some awesome battles out on track and no doubt some great racing. Like I said, this is the third round of the championship. If you've watched previously before, you'd have seen that we were out at Spa-Francorchamps for round number 1. And then round number 2, we jumped back to Watkins Glen, just about 50 miles south of where we are at the moment, so not far to go over that 2-week gap up to Canadian Tire Motorsport. But it's a brilliant track to drive on, and can't wait to see what's going to happen as we're waiting for the cars to make their way out on track at the start of qualifying. And here we are. Theo Schroeder is the first of our LMP2 cars making their way out onto track around this very, very entertaining short circuit. It's not seen much love over recent years. The only major series attending it, if I'm not mistaken, is the IMSA Sports Car Championship at the moment. It's held events such as Formula 1 in the late 70s and throughout the 60s. Can-Am Championship as well. It was held here throughout the entire championship, as well as NASCAR and GT World Challenge America and other championships around the world. Theo Schroeder just coming to finish off his first out lap at the moment, about to start a flying lap. Might be able to jump on board with him as he guides us around. It's amazing 3-kilometer circuit. Making his way down to turn 1. It's a fast shoot down towards turn 1, just not even downshifting, almost flat out. A tap of the brakes as he uses a lot of the exit curve to get a bit of a slide on. So he comes down towards Clayton Corner, turns number 2. He wants to come out wide and hit a late apex before Quebec Corner, turn number 3. Another late apex corner, very fast this first section. He's only done 4 downshifts so far for this entire first sector. And then an even faster section here, a bit of a roller coaster coming down the hill and getting late on the brakes through the uphill. Wanting to not hit that first apex and take a very late apex as we see him just getting a little bit too entry there, coming down onto the back straight, the Mario Andretti back straight. Does curve slightly to the left and then back to the right here before we get into turn 8. A very fast corner. We should see a tap of the brakes and downshift just once into the S's before that very tight, twisty section at the end of the track. As we see him here. Downshifting once, twice even, before getting the car slowed down for this tighter end of the lap. The second slowest part of the lap through turn 10 as he comes out across the curb to finish his first flying lap at 107.4. We should be seeing these cars going down into the mid 106s, so a bit of time to be found there. We saw him missing a couple of the apeces, but no doubt he'll be able to find some more time. Being the first and only competitor to have set a lap at the moment, Theo Schroeder. We've seen him have some interesting races last round, winning at Watkins Glen, unfortunately having not a very good result in Spa, being a little bit off the pace, but it puts him second in the championship, just behind the series organizer, Marcus Solheim. As we now look to one of our new entries in the season, Finn Nordsgaard Pendersen. It's the first time seeing him out on track. That car looking very nice in its striking black and blue. Now as we go and look at our series organizer and championship leader, Marcus Solheim. He's out on track at the moment. He's yet to set a he did set a qualifying last lap. It wasn't very fast though, 1 minute 10. So we'll see what he can do to try and improve on that throughout the rest of qualifying. 3 cars set a lap at the moment. Pedersen, who we saw as our new entry to the championship, he's currently provisionally fastest with a 107.1. See what Marcus is going to do here. We know he's a very quick driver. See if he's able to improve on his 110. Yep, he goes 108.5, so not the fastest so far. Keep an eye on him. We'll see him moving up the standings. I'm very sure he will. As I was saying, with Canadian Tire, it seems to be missing a bit of love in real-world racing at the moment, but also in iRacing. iRacing seems to cycle through the tracks that it uses every 6 months or so. You see some tracks coming in and out. We're seeing a lot of Twin Ring and Peggy at the moment. Unfortunately, we're not seeing much Canadian Tire, but hopefully that means it should be coming a background soon. So for those of you who don't know how our qualifying works here, the first 15 minutes of the session are handed out to the LMP cars to go and do their qualifying times. Just 4 cars in the LMP2 category today out on track, so they'll be out there for 15 minutes to do the best time they can, as many laps as they would like, before the final 20 minutes will be handed over to our GT3 competitors. We've got 3 cars competing in GT3 today: John Derrick, Jonas Beckman and Jamie Daniels. Jamie Daniels is the only AM driver, the other 2 being pro, so all he has to do is finish today and he'll come out with the with a race win. Sorry, coming out of round 3. Larry Capella, saw him, it was his first time attending the championship last week at Watkins Glen, or 2 weeks ago, sorry, I should say. He's currently 3rd fastest. See what he's going to do here, running quite wide, getting a little bit of a slide on the exit of the corner. And yep, not able to improve, sorry, on his last lap. And just get word that our first time in the commentary box for ISRC TV, we've got Harry Harvey joining us. Harry Harvey, how are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Oh, very good. So this is, as a lot of you are aware, ISRC TV is a newly formed commentary broadcaster. This is our first series that we're doing in full, along with our the Intercontinental Sim Racing Porsche Challenge, hosted by us. And yeah, so this is it's awesome to see some of these guys out on track.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to be here. This championship looks like there's been some close races so far, it seems. So yeah, it'd be exciting to see what happens today.
Yeah, there was some really close racing last time at Watkins Glen. The battle for the lead in LMP2 started pretty much the start of the race, and then there was battling, passing every other lap up until the final lap, where Theo was just able to get by Marcus. And hopefully we'll see something similar again. It's a high speed track, so should lead to some good racing. So if we want to take a look at our championship points at the moment to see how all the cars are doing, here we are as we pull up our LMP2 standings. So Marcus Solholm leads the way on 45 points, winning race number 1 at Spa and coming second at Watkins Glen's put him in first, with Theo Schroeder just behind on 38 points. Hugh Haycox, we've only seen him shown up to 1 race so far at Spa, where he came second, unfortunately, missing out on the final corner of the race. He's in 3rd place with Leif Whitechell in 4th and Larry Capella in 5th. And then our 2 new entries to the season, Finn Norgard Pedersen and Charles G. Presley, in 6th and 7th respectively. Sorry if you're experiencing any technical difficulties at the moment. Our broadcaster is having some internet difficulties.
Just to sort of fill the difficulty gap, this track is definitely looking like an interesting one for the Porsche Cup Series as well, because with the with how technical the track is, it'll be interesting to see if the close racing that we've seen in that series holds up as well, because this obviously being such a fast track, battles aren't quite as common. Hopefully, though, it should be interesting for both races.
Yeah, no, I agree that when the Porsche Championship comes here, we all know that Porsche Cups give brilliant racing. As you yourself know, you've won 2 out of the 6 races that we've had so far in the season in the AM Championship. And I'm gonna be honest with you, when it comes around to this round, I'm gutted I'm not going to be driving in it. It looks like it's going to be great fun.
Oh, come on, that's a shameless plug, throwing out the 2 victories like that.
you got to ride it. Wear that badge of honor. See, at the moment, for those of you who aren't totally up to date with the Intercontinental Sim Racing Porsche Challenge, we run a series with 2 sprint races, 2 20-minute races, alternating every other week. Just last Thursday, we had our 3rd round at Monza, which was brilliant to see. We had 15 cars out on track because a lot of guys were practicing for other races at the weekend. Normally we see bigger turnouts, but no matter how many cars you see out on track, we're yet to have a race where there isn't brilliant battling from start to finish. And we've got another 7 rounds in the championship still to go. So if anybody is interested in that, you can click on the Discord link in the description to join our Discord channel where you can find out more information to our Porsche Championship and our Endurance Championship as well, which the final round is this weekend, 24 Hours of Le Mans. The grid is completely full for that, but if you want to perhaps get yourself on that reserve list if things go badly for another team or just fancy watching it, you can find information both in the Discord or on our Twitter page. So have you had any previous racing experience at Canadian Tire, Harvey?
I've done a couple of sort of small races. I've done a couple in R Factor 2 mainly. Nothing in iRacing, so it'll be interesting one to sort of learn the track watching this stream, but as well as learning it for the Porsche Cup and for future events. It's one of those tracks that, as you said, it's not very commonly used in a lot of things, but it's an interesting track and it is a nice one to drive. It's got the sort of fast flowing sections, the exciting bits with the technicality at the end, so it should be interesting.
I'm trying to think. I've only ever done one race around here, which was in R Factor 2 in Old Lead RF2 WEC, which we used to help organise, and it was LMP1s, LMP2s, and GTEs around here. And it's so fast. It is ridiculous. And in the LMP1s and the P2s and P1s that they've got in iRacing at the moment, if they ever come here, I'm going to be getting straight on that because the LMP1s around this track, I can only imagine, are going to be an absolutely brilliant laugh.
P1 in general is usually quite an interesting car to drive. It's just so fast with the current BOP settings and the current tyre model and everything it's running on. In its current form, it's just so fast, stupid fast.
Yeah, it's got ridiculous fast at this moment. Now we recently ran the iRacing 6 hours at Le Mans. Where we were running it during race pace. We're running 3:13s, which is, you're running a second lap faster than the all-time lap record at Le Mans at the moment. So it's a bit silly fast how quick the LMP1 cars are now, but it just makes them all the more fun to drive.
Yeah, definitely. Like if you think back to when we were running the official Le Mans last year, 3 iRacing seasons back. We were running in the middle of the night, a 3:19 to us was a good lap, and now the other day I ran a 3:11. It's just the pace that car has now is so fast compared to what it used to be. It's stupid.
Yeah, it really is. No, I think that iRacing is increasing the speed of all of its cars at the moment. Apart from this car that we're seeing now, the P2, it recently got bopped at the start of last season. to bring it down in line with the real-life IMSA regulations. They reduced some power from it, and if I'm not mistaken, added a bit more drag to the car to make them a little bit slower in a straight line. But that still doesn't stop them being an epic challenge with with no ABS and little traction on the rears. As we see Larry Capella getting it very wrong there, going down into the Moss corner, locking up the brakes, getting on the grass, and just heading headfirst into the tyre barrier. Nothing you can do in those kind of situations. As the LMP2 qualifying comes to a close, we'll bring up on screen the GT3 Pro standings currently after the championship. John Derek Wynn is leading the championship at the moment after 2 rounds, winning both races, with Jonas Beckman just behind. We saw him having an interesting battle at round number 1 at Spa. Jota Korsman is currently sat in 3rd, with Billy Fletcher, who's a newcomer to the championship, just behind him 4th there, both tied on points, sorry. And then Mateusz Jabusek is just behind him 5th, Adam J. Pierce 6th, David Gilmore 7th, Louis Egertson in 8th, and then Hendrik Lichtenhagen in 9th. Juan Sanchez is a new entry to the season. Unfortunately, we're not going to see him out on the track today, but we should see him coming out in future rounds. Ms. Harvey, I'll hand it over to you if you would like to take us through the GTMs.
Yes, for GTM, we've got Silas Nikolaisen with 41 points in P1, Jamie Daniels P2 with 36, Jonathan Keane 3rd with 25, Nick Carroll 20 points in 4th, Davy Van Den in 5th on 13, and then we've got Christopher Gottfredson, John McDonald, Tim Kasigkit, and Richard Wanders, all on 0 points, 6th down to 9th. So it looks like the first of the GT runners are going out onto track now for their section of qualifying. The P2 field stands at the moment with Norgard Pedersen on pole with a 106.3. Schroeder in 2nd, 3/10 back in number 13 car. Laurie Capella in 3rd, 8/10 back. And Marcus Soholm bringing up the rear in 4th, our 2nd back.
Yeah, but it's all to play for in these P2s, I reckon, because this is such a high downforce, high-speed track that it's going to be quite hard to pull away. You'll be able to sit in that slipstream, hopefully, and we should see a 4-car battle right the way to the end. It's quite easy to battle in those cars, just as it is these GT3s that we're seeing out on track. Jonas Beckman, one of the pro drivers at the moment, sat 2nd in the championship. Yeah, I reckon, even though we don't have many cars out on track, it should be some good battling due to the nature of the circuit.
Yeah, hopefully. Let's just hope it's an hour, with an hour race, it should hope that the cars are going to stay close, otherwise it might end up not quite as exciting as we might hope.
Yeah, and of course you've always got that multi-class element as well in these kind of races. The P2s will be catching up to these GTs, I'm guessing, in about 5 laps. They're that fast, so every 5 laps, 6 laps or so, we should be seeing these P2s lapping the GT3 cars. So yeah, I reckon that once you add that into the mix as well, I reckon even if there isn't any on-track battles for position, the multi-class element of it will still be very intriguing and fun to watch.
Indeed, yeah, the pace difference looks quite big between the cars, with obviously how much downforce the P2s are running. The pace difference is always going to be big here. So the close, I'd imagine as well, the closing speeds when you're in the P2 trying to lap cars is going to be really interesting. Quite difficult to negotiate.
I know, I speak for myself, that driving, or even GTEs lapping some GT3s, I've had a couple of brown trouser moments myself. Just how fast you come up on the back of some of these cars, you can't prepare for it mentally.
No, it just takes a lot of practice.
Yeah, I think I'll take that hint in my stride, and I'll work on it going forwards. As John Derrick, our championship leader in GTE Pro, has currently set the fastest time of 16.9. We're still waiting on Jonas Beckman and Jamie Daniels to set their competitive laps. The GT3 drivers, it takes a couple of laps to get the tyres up to temperature, so we should be seeing a within the next lap or two, them setting their competitive laps. Looks like we're about to see Jonas start one in a second. And now here the McLaren MP412C is what we've got John Derrick running in at the moment. If I'm not mistaken, that is 3 GT3s behind. That's 3 generations old, that car, if I'm not mistaken. Since then, they've had the 650S GT3 and the 720 GT3, which came out just 2 years ago, first debuting in the British GT Championship and now running in championships all over the world. There's people are expecting the McLaren and the Ford to be replaced soon, both of them being, like I said, from before 2015, or being 2015 was last year they were run. What cars, Harvey, would you like to see being added into the GT3 mix? Obviously, we've recently had the Lamborghini and the BMW. Is there anything you'd like to see added in that would spice things up a bit?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say with the McLaren being as old as it is now, it is outdated. Same with the Ford. So I'd quite like to see maybe a Porsche, definitely a Porsche get added. That's always a fan favourite. But I'm not sure. Being a Lexus fan from ACC, I'd quite like to see a Lexus being added, but I don't think that's going to happen. That's very, very unlikely, I would imagine that's going to happen.
I never knock it off. If I'm not mistaken, Lexus are owned by another competitor. As you see Jonas Beckman going around. Sorry, must have just missed that there. That looks like turn 3, Quebec corner, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he has. It looks like he's just got on the curb and spun around there. No damage there, so you'll see him carrying on and hopefully setting another qualifying lap. But if I'm not mistaken, who's Lexus owned by? Because we might be able to see them come in now if it's is it Toyota they're owned by?
I believe so.
Okay, so yeah, like we know iRacing have got a lot of heavy tie-ins with Toyota, with them running the NASCARs, that we could see the Lexus being added in the GT3 category. It's not something to write off, but I do agree as well. A Porsche being added would be brilliant. Everyone in our little iRacing group are Porsche fanboys to the to the end, really.
Yeah, maybe as well. Maybe something along the lines of obviously the newer McLaren could replace the old one, but maybe like an Acura, maybe the newer NSX or an updated Mercedes as well. I think just to bring the GT3 spec up to field, to bring it more in line with the ACC cars, would be quite desirable. But it is iRacing.
They're not known for bringing content out as quickly as other competitors. I agree with that. They're almost falling behind, I'd say, with the content when you're looking at games like R Factor 2 and ACC and more arcade-based games like Gran Turismo and the Formula 1 games. They're definitely lacking in the car department, if you ask me.
Definitely, yeah, and especially they could certainly add the Toyota to spice up the LMP1 field, just to bring a bit more life back into that class, because it is a dying class. And potentially as well, another P2 would be nice, just to spice up that field as well. Just a bit more diversity in general would be nice, but well, we're yet to see if that's happened. Obviously, there's no announcements of either of those as far as I know.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if that happened.
Yeah, they didn't, if I'm not wrong, they didn't add the Toyota P1 because it was still the same model that they were running in real life. The TSO 50 they ran from 2015 through to just the end of last year. So now that car's been retired, it is very possible that we'll see it being added to the championship. But I agree with you. Another P2 as well, to throw that into the mix, just to add that diversity in the field, would really develop iRacing and get it moving forwards.
Yes, definitely. It would be very nice as well, as our fellow ISRC staff has just pointed out, Lama Lewis Anderson, as you guys know him. Definitely the Aston should be added to GT3. That would be nice.
Oh, if I'm not mistaken, Aston has been hinted I don't know if I'm making that up, but I think I've seen the Aston hinted somewhere on the forums. I don't know if there's GT3 or GTE, but there was some 3D renderings of an Aston Martin. So maybe. I've been told that Nicky Team revealed it, so there we are. It's confirmed. Aston Martin coming to an iRacing near you. Don't know when, but it'll be there. Exactly.
Hello? Yeah, hi.
And joining us as well in the commentary box is Vincent Evers. It's first time seeing him in as well. Bringing a couple of new faces in today. As get a bit of a podcast on. Why not? Like you see, we'll try and bring you some racing chit chat along the way. Vincent, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I just came home to support you guys.
Oh, we appreciate the help and we appreciate the support. Yeah, so you're joining us just with 10 minutes to go in the qualifying, or just 9 minutes to go, sorry. We've had all of our P2s out in qualifying. All 4 of them have done their laps, and we've currently got our 3 GT3s out on track at the moment. Looking at Jonas Beckman. So hopefully we'll... Given there's not many cars, it should be some good racing.
Been informed as well that there's going to be another GT3 out on track for the race, so we'll have another car, sorry. So we'll have 4 GT3s and 4 P2s, so that should be good. More the merrier.
Exactly, yeah. So you can never have too many, as... actually, you can have 62, actually. That's how many you can have, thanks to iRacing. It'd be nice to see these limits coming up soon. I know there's we've currently got 7 allowed cars out on track and a maximum of 62 at certain circuits. Though the community of reaching out and asking for that 8th car and seeing these server limits up, I think it'd be awesome to see 120 cars in the N24 bashing it about the place.
Yeah, definitely. Like especially with big endurance races, like I said, the N24 and BLN events. Having an extra, or even if they just raise the limit to something above 7, so like 8, 9, 10 different cars allowed, because if you think compared to other sims that are currently out where you can run infinite different models, it's just on the amount of people you can put in a server being limited. So having an option to have, say, 10 different models and even 80 cars, that would spice up things like the Nords so much more than what it currently can be.
Yeah, no, it's another area where I feel like iRacing really need to improve, to step up their game. Assetto Corsa has started reaching into these bigger car limits. I know that today, actually, any of you who are watching would have missed it, but they're hosting a 120 car race around Paul Ricard in ACC, and in iRacing you can also do the same. You can host, I think the sky's the limit when it comes to, not in iRacing, sorry, in R Factor 2. I think the sky's the limit in R Factor 2 when it comes to how many cars you can have out on track, as far as you can physically fit them. But iRacing, I think, really need to step up their game if they want to keep a hold on specifically the endurance races in sim racing.
Yes, definitely. I mean, there's nothing inherently wrong with the current endurance leagues that you've got now. Like, a lot of them especially are really interesting to watch, and a bit of a sort of shameless plug of our own league, but the races we've had seem to be interesting enough to watch. But I think it just add a bit more immersion to watch, as well as driving. Having more options, more cars is just more exciting to watch, isn't it?
Yeah, I know from experience, I'm sure you guys all do at home, when you have these cars out on track and you only have 40 or 30 cars, it's a 6-hour long race, you can feel like, there's times where it just drags out a bit, and that's where you want to have these bigger servers, just to keep things interesting, both from a commentary and just overall racing point of view. But if you've got multi-class and you've got GT3s and GT4s and TCRs, I mean, it'd be really, really incredible to see these massive servers. Hopefully it's something that iRacing will work and improve on. But I guess we could only wait and see.
Definitely, yeah. It will. I'm sure it will eventually happen at some point.
Yeah.
I'd like to think, but when it does, it'll definitely spice up endurance events, especially with how many endurance leagues there are. It should definitely improve all the events, and like you said, with getting events like races, especially like 6, 7 hour, 8 hour races, it should definitely make them run a little bit quicker, or feel like they're running quicker. Like I know, especially like tracks like Monza, when you've got a full endurance grid there, the races fly by because you're just lapping so many cars. Say you're in a P1, lapping GTEs, P2s, they just fly by because you're just lapping so many cars, and it's usually a chaotic race. So that is definitely more desirable than a long dragged out race where you feel like you're sat on your own. I do, from personal experience, I definitely find that not particularly exciting, and it can leave you feeling a bit burnt out at the end.
Yeah. As well, it's another thing which I feel like iRacing and their endurance events certainly need to, from my perspective, improve on is the damage model of the cars. I know that they're obviously working on a new damage model, and it is improving all the time. But we've recently been venturing out into the Assetto Corsa, and in Assetto Corsa you can go out there, you can have a rather monumental accident, and you'll lose 5 minutes in the pits. But at the end of it, you've got a fresh car, because I know I've been there. You've all been there. You've been at Le Mans. It's the start of a race, 6 hour, 24, whatever it is, and you've got that floor damage. You're 2 hours in, and it just sucks the life out of you. Feel like iRacing need to add that little bit of that little something to the damage model that means that you can you can repair your car and get back out there with a price, of course. But I know that it sucks when you got damage and there's nothing you can do about it for the best part of 24 hours.
Yeah, it's definitely soul destroying, especially when you put in, like, if you put in some cases, like a month or two of effort, depending on the event. It can definitely, as you said, suck the life out of you. It's just, it puts a whole downer on it, especially when something's not your fault and you get into an incident, someone hits you or you get tapped or there's an incident in front of you, whatever. Endurance racing, it's a harsh sport, and it's not, you've got to be prepared to have that happen to you. But iRacing's damage really isn't very lenient in that sense, where you get someone hits you, and I get that it's not realistic. It's not as much realistic in the sense that the car probably won't be perfect in real life if it gets fixed. But this is sim racing; it's not real life. That's the beauty of it. So having that little bit of leeway where the car does get fixed properly would be really nice. It would just, I think, keep more people racing.
Exactly. It'll like you're going back to something you were saying as well that ties in with the cars. You get to that 8 hour mark in the race, and you might have like possibly even 10 cars retired. I know at Sebring it was an absolute death trap. People were just retiring. Like you're down 15 cars within 8 hours or so, and if you can keep that up, so you've only got 5 cars out, it'll just make the racing so much better and so much more intense. Yeah, you'll lose 5 minutes in the pits, but it will retain people and it'll make it way more enjoyable for the rest of the community while driving.
Yeah, it should keep more people tied into leagues as well, that sort of thing, where they haven't had like a bad race and it hasn't put a downer on their whole thing, where they've just had like 1 or 2 bad races where they've been caught up in unfortunate incidents or like not had much time to prepare, anything like that. And you've got like people will just leave, won't they, because of things like that, where they haven't had a good experience, they're not enjoying it, as we quickly see Jonas Beckman spin into a wall. That was a fairly sizable crash. Front end's quite heavily damaged, going to pit quickly. With just over a minute left of the session at the moment. That's probably his last chance of getting a lap, that was.
Yep, after that coming together, his Huracan looked a bit more like a Murcielago, if you ask me, with that squashed front end, but not a bad efforts from him. Let's see where that's put him so far. It's put him in provisional second. With that lap, he's done a 17.01. That is just 3.5 tenths off of our provisional pole sitter, John Derrick, and Jamie Daniels here are first of our AM runners. He's on an 18.15. This will be his penultimate flying lap, if he's got enough fuel to complete another one, as it looks like, no, that's it. He's peeling off to the pit lane, so the only car I've got out on track at the moment is our now solidified pole sitter, John Derrick, in the GT3 category. Is he going to work and improve on a lap? Or is he just out there showboating and showing off that amazing livery that he's got on at the moment?
That McLaren is a nice looking car in general, isn't it? It's a nice shape as well, and the flamethrower is quite distinctive. It's a bit overkill, maybe, but definitely distinctive.
It's you know, like when you're racing and you can't see a car in front of you, it's the middle of the night. You see, that's just another protection. You're following a McLaren, and it's spitting flames in the face. I think it's quite a good feature myself, but yeah, I think it. Yeah, the car's from the early 2010s, but I think it still does look killer. I got to agree with you. It looks good. As we have got another minute wait until we go through to the end of qualifying here at the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for round number 3 of the Aquiver eSports Championship. So you'll be joining us in a minute for a 1 hour long race as we jump on through to the next session. See if we can get our qualifying order up. We've got our pole sitter in LMP1, Finn Pedersen for City and Edge. He sat in first with Theo Schroeder, just 3 tenths behind him for Aquiver Motorsports. And then in third place, the second of 3 Aquiver Motorsports driver, Larry Capella. He's 1.1 seconds off the pace with Marcus Solholm, full 2 seconds off of our pole sitter's pace in fourth and last in the LMP2 standing, sorry. So keep an eye on him and we'll see him moving forwards. Then if we're looking through into our GT3 category, we've got John Derrick for Rottenberry Racing. He's currently sat in 5th place. That's the esports team for the YouTuber he is. So if you guys know or watch him, you'll know where that's from. Jonas Beckman for Aquiver Motorsports. He's the only GT3 Aquiver driver in the race at the moment. He's currently sat in 2nd, both overall in our GT3s and in the Pro Championship. And our first of the AM run is Jamie Daniels for Omega Racing. He's 1 second off the pace from our pole sitter. And then our new entry into the race, Selena Colshan, is in 8th and last place for the start of the race. As we look through at the race settings for today, looks like it's going to be quite a mild race, only 24 degrees air temperature, which will translate round to roughly 26 degrees on track surface. So it'll be a fairly mild race, quite humid as well. So you got to watch out, those frame rates will be dropping. As we get ready for the safety car to pull away. The NASCAR truck venturing away from the dirt oval races today, going out onto Canadian Tire Motorsport Park as he pulls away. And our P2s and GTs will get away, ready to warm up their tyres to start this 1 hour long race. Now, Jamie Daniels in that very vibrantly coloured BMW. Got a nice little split here. If you're seeing a BMW, it's in the AM class. If you're seeing a mid-engine car, that's the McLaren or the Lamborghini. That's your pro class drivers.
Nice and helpful for the commentators.
I know, yeah. It's always nice seeing teams helping us out. As we now look through to our pole sitter, Finn Norgard Pedersen. He's not weaving up his tyres. We can see the cars around him doing a little brake, a little bit of weaving. I'm not sure if that helps the tyres. Wherever you go, people have got different opinions on it. Some say it does, some say it doesn't. I do it, but that's because I want it to look cool. So, you know.
From my personal thing, I tend to do a bit of weaving and sort of like harsh acceleration, harsh brake, just to try and warm up. I think the harsh braking warms the tyres up just as well. You've got to weave quite aggressively, I think, to get temperature into the tyres, but that's my personal opinion. I know, as you said, a lot of people do different things. Like Porsche Cups as well, you can drag the brake quite heavily, I think, to warm the tyres up. It's like a weird thing with that car.
Certainly with the Porsche Cups, it seems to cause a lot of problems, the brake dragging in the eSports series. Surprised it's not in any other car, but they're not actively going to be fixing it, or they haven't announced they will be. So interesting to see what iRacing will do about that. Hopefully we'll see some patches coming soon. But just 2 corners left on the formation lap before we get going to the start of this 1 hour long race. So, if I'm not mistaken, it should be roughly 52 laps we should see the cars completing, and they'll be coming into the pits just shy of 40 minutes into the race. The P2s and yeah, the GT3s have also got a fuel limit on of 60%. So we're seeing them coming both into the pits at around 40 minutes. P2s will be taking nearly a full tank again to get going. Running away as we're going to see the pace car pulling off. The leaders are about to start the race, waiting for the lights to go green, and we're away and racing. Pedersen gets a good start. Is he going to be under pressure from behind from Theo Schroeder? No, but Larry Capella's diving up the inside. He's going to try and make a move on our second place cars. You see Marcus Solheim going off and into the tyre barrier in the background. And it looks like he's got a little bit of front end damage. That's not what we want to see from the series organizer. Looking down to our GT3 start, it looks like John Derrick's managed to get away to a good start. Nothing's changed in the standings so far, as it looks like our last place car, Nick Olshan's not had a brilliant start. As we can see just in the front of shot up there, Marcus Solheim struggling with that damage. He's going to have to pit in and get that repaired. That's a massive shake-up, not only to this race, but the championship.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do with the rest of this race now. It was a pretty heavy hit into the tyres, it seemed.
Yeah,
looks like Laurie Capella went into the wall as well.
Yeah, he did. That's another shock to say, trying it around the outside, unfortunately getting tapped by Theo Schroeder. So that's put 2 of our 4 LMP2 cars off the back of this leading duo now, as we now look onto John Derrick leading the GT3 category. In the back of shot, just behind him, we've got our second place car, Jonas Beckman. He's going to be in the slipstream trying to close up as much as he can. Just behind the horde of Bentleys coming along. Looks like Nick Olshan's struggling for pace at the moment. The BMWs have got good top-end speed, so we should see them pulling up in that back straight. The cornering entry's not brilliant in these cars. They tend to oversteer quite a lot, or understeer, sorry, on turn-in, and then get oversteer on exit of the corner. As Marcus Solheim's in the pit lane taking his repairs.
So it looks like Capella stayed out, interestingly, so the damage on his car mustn't be too bad. It's obviously manageable. But it doesn't actually look... It doesn't look like he has too much damage, actually, saying that. But obviously Solheim's was enough to make him think the pit stop was worth the time.
Yeah, but I don't know if these guys got any fast repairs. If not, then he will be serving the full required repairs, like we were saying. With this being our racing, there's a possibility it may not fix all the damage, but hopefully it does, and we should see him getting back out on track soon enough with a fresh car. Riding on board now, though, Jonas Beckman in second place. Lamborghini choosing not to sit right in the slipstream of our leader of John Derrick at the moment. It's only a 2-second gap at the moment. It sounded like he's almost lifting a saving fuel there. Last round, and it looks like it's been a crash. Sorry, for Nick Olshan. The front of his BMW is looking a little bit bent. And worse for wear as he's getting on the grass going down the back straight. As we're going to see a replay of what happened. Or getting on the grass. See, that's what I mean about these BMWs. Is he... Oh, heavy hit into the wall. That's what I mean about these BMWs. The front engine sat right over those front axles. He turns into the corner and nothing's happening. You've got to slow down before that all happens. Yeah, shame to see that accident happening like that.
Yeah, it seems like a sort of thing with the whole front engine style of car. It's a very different style car to drive to the mid-engine GT cars. I personally prefer front engine just because it's a bit more predictable. But with the turning, yeah, he just turned in, just didn't scrub off enough speed, and the front end never responded. That's a heavy hit into the wall as well, so that's going to be a tiny bit of steering damage. Looks like he might be there a while. Yeah,
hopefully not too bad, and he'll be able to get out and running again. Oh, as you see, that looks like Theo Schroeder just getting on the grass there on the exit of turn 2. Starting to see these P2 spreading out a little bit. And does it look like that BMW's been repaired?
Yes, it does, yeah. Front end looks fairly clean to me.
So does that mean that must mean they've got a fast repair then in this point?
Because Solheim's damage to me indicates that would have been a couple of minutes in the pits, and his car looks fresh as well. So yeah, they must have a fast repair.
Okay, so we're hearing that Marcus Solheim spent 44 seconds in the pit lane. whereas Nikolshan only spent 4 seconds stationary. So Nikolshan must have had a fast repair to get that done. Maybe Solheim just forgot to untick tyres. It's very possible. Dropping him a lap off the lead. This is our leader, Pedersen. He's opened his gap up to 5.8 seconds already in the opening 4 laps of the race. And he's managed to break the slipstream, because if he had not been able to do that, there's a very good chance that Theo Schroeder would have been able to keep with him down this high-speed track and challenged a lot more. But the race is still long. We're only 5 minutes in, another 55 minutes to go. Anything can and will happen.
Definitely, yeah. I would imagine with the tow as well, with these high downforce cars, that the being too close to the car in front would almost be a detriment to you, because the dirty air, especially when you're running the high downforce ones, the dirty air is going to really throw you off in that first half of the track with how high downforce orientated it is. So 6 seconds isn't too bad. It's going to be difficult to recover, though, it seems, because Pedersen's got a pretty good race pace edge. As you say, it's a long race. Anything's going to happen.
Yeah. As we see him actually setting a all-time fastest lap, back time by us, a 107.3. Now, this is our battle for second place. No, this is not. Sorry, this is Theo Schroeder. Second place car. Last time by, he was a full second slower than our leader, Pedersen. But just behind him is Marcus Solheim. We saw him having a crash at the start, and he's now going to be doing his best to recover back up and make his way around to the front.
Yeah, it looks like Pedersen pulled out about half a second on that last lap, so that was a very fast lap he set last lap. Say the race pace edge early on seems to be swinging in his favour, but the battle should hopefully last the race.
Yeah, hopefully be able to get on the back end and back onto that lead lap, and then challenge once the pit stops come around if he can do something smart with strategy, a bit of fuel saving. We've got a couple of questions in chat. The incident limit is for every 12 incidents in this race. So every 12 incidents you receive a drive-through penalty. There's no disqualification, so you can get as many drive-throughs as you want, and the only thing you'll lose is your dignity.
Sounds like a perfect sort of event for me, then no disqualification. So
I'd spend most of my time in my pit lane if I was doing this race, which is why I'm not, and why I'm here talking to you guys right now.
Seems like we've got a close battle in the GT field at the moment. Just within under a second gap now between the two cars.
Yeah, and actually as well, that's I was correct. Yes, 6 laps until the P2. So now lapping the leaders in GT3, and yeah, going back to this battle, John Derrick actually got held up a bit there being passed, and it looks like Jonas Beckman was able to close up. He's closed up to just 3/10 now. We saw him fuel saving earlier on. Is he going to be doing the same again here, lifting off and coasting into this high-speed turn 8? Because, yeah, fuel saving will give you such a big advantage in these races that it can save you a matter of seconds in the pits.
Definitely, yeah. And if he's coming easier into the corner, his tyres are definitely going to be holding on longer into the race. Should maybe have the pace edge later on.
Yeah. No, so hopefully he'll be able to keep going, as actually this is technically the overtake for 5th overall. Oh, and Marcus Solheim spun it. He's just got on the grass. Is he spun into wave the other cars on track around him? Yes, he has. Oh, that's unfortunate. He was trying to get his way off of the track. But in the meantime, Jamie Daniels, who had also gone off the track there, crashing into him, trying to avoid the accident up ahead. Marcus just running a bit too deep and getting on the grass. Theo Schroeder doing very well not to make contact there. And Jamie Daniels, unfortunately, getting caught up in that. It's a shame to see, but that corner there, turn number 2, claiming a lot of victims already, and we're only 8 minutes into the race.
Definitely, yeah. It just seems like one of those corners where if you're slightly offline or slightly too late on corner entry, you have no chance of stopping, and you're going straight at that wall, especially if you get on the grass. It's just one of those corners in racing where it's just difficult. All tracks seem to have them.
Yeah, it's a difficult corner to get right. Especially in these, I imagine we'll see We've seen it already. Both of these BMWs don't get them slowed down off that front engine. It's going to just, gonna be able to slow down and go straight on. So look over at my timing screens, and Pedersen, we saw him absolutely flying. He's now opened that gap up to 13 seconds. He's now broken into the 106s. That's a matter of tenths off of his qualifying pace. As we see Larry Capella entering the pit lane, as he had an accident, which we didn't see. As we go back on board with him now earlier on in the lap, or 2 laps ago, sorry. Oh, what happened there then? Is there a bit of a bump? That car seemed to just get airborne and spin 180 degrees there.
Yeah, it's back end just let go on him.
Yeah, I've not seen something like that before. He just caught air, and Tony Hawks would have been proud of that.
Just one of the many quirks of the Dallara P2 by the seams of it.
Yeah. Yeah, he just seemed to catch a bit of a bump there, rear end let go on him, and he's facing the wrong way. Hopefully he hasn't got any damage from that. These P2s susceptible to floor damage and wheel glitches as well, but it looks like he's able to just stop for 10 seconds, so maybe it was just serving a fast repair and getting back out again. But that puts him a minute behind our leader. In fact, if you look just behind him, that's our leader there. Pedersen just behind. So it's Stroh and Larry Capella nearly to a lap down. So riding on board with John Derrick, our second place in GT3. And actually, wait, there's been a pass, sorry, which we didn't see on screen. That's John Derrick's now in second, sorry. Jonas Beckman's managed to get past somewhere. We didn't catch that, unfortunately, on screen. But that now means that the Lamborghini is leading the race, and our pole sitter, John Derrick's a bit further behind. Obviously, Jonas Beckman deciding he doesn't want to fuel save, and it looks like he's gapping at a rate of knots.
Yeah, just on board with the McLaren as well at the moment. That nose camera, just such an interesting view coming over that crest down the hill.
Shows really how steep it is. It's like a cliff coming over that. It's elevation change is what a lot of modern tracks seem to miss. A lot of newer tracks which are being built, whereas this has got just amazing undulation. This is the first time that I imagine a lot of these drivers have been out on track since the Creventic 12 hours of Spa at the weekend. iRacing last year, we know as the iRacing Endurance Series, has been sponsored by Creventic this year. As we see Theo Schroeder decided to make his way past on the grass, deciding it'd be quicker to do that than changing it on the tarmac, because he loops it around as well, going through into Moss Corner. Didn't hit anything. Didn't hit anything and able to get underway again nicely. But yeah, as I was saying, a lot of these drivers, first time they'll be out on track since the Creventic 12 hours. Let us know how your races went. If any of you took part in it. We didn't take part in it, as we had several other races on ACC and the VLN series. And now it looks like all of the drivers will be prepping for... we've got a fair few entries prepping for the ISRC 24-hour this weekend. Otherwise, we've got the first time we're seeing an iRacing NASCAR Legacy NASCAR special event held this weekend at North Wilkesboro with the 87 cars. Or otherwise, it'll be the Nordschleife 24 being held just over 3 weeks.
Definitely a busy month for quite a lot of sim races at the moment.
Yeah, I must admit, we've got our team calendar. We've got a race on every single weekend now, from now until pretty much the middle of May at this point, where we've got one weekend off. But it's fun. It's what we're all here for, and what we all do. As we see, and Marcus, I'm spinning again, losing traction of the car, this time rear-ending the barrier. That's a Moss Corner, that double right-hander. And this time he has escaped back to the pit lane. Is he going to serve his fast repair and get back out again?
A lot of drivers seem to be having issues there.
I know, yeah, it's that and turn 2, the killer, so far it seems.
This whole first section of the track really seems to be throwing a spanner in the works for a lot of people.
it's this undulation. From what I can see, it's a lot of heavy. All the corners which have got a lot of elevation change is where they're really struggling, especially with these P2s being so stiff. As they come over the crests, they just seem to be losing the rear end and looping it back around. It's challenging, but that's what separates the strong from the weak.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, touching on the elevation change, it seems to be one of the tracks up there with the most I've seen. Similar sort of style to Road Atlanta as well. I seem to see it with a lot of American tracks where they don't have curbs on corner entry, where there's can be a lot of mistakes made. Or if you're not watching, you can flip your outside tyres on corner entry on the grass. I've had many incidents myself because of that. But the elevation style is very similar, like I said, to Road Atlanta. It's definitely just makes it feel more like a roller coaster than a racetrack. Whereas for an hour race like this, just having the challenge of the track is one of those things where you can make the race just fly by.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, Theo Schroeder, that bump again in the P2s. He's hit that. Last time we saw Larry Capella pitting in, maybe he got damage. Not losing it as badly as Larry did, but crikey. You were just saying there, it's the lack of curbs, but here it just seems to be the track. It just doesn't want to have cars on it. It's throwing them off left, right, and centre.
Yeah, it really does seem to be a lot of people just not enjoying that section of the track at all at the moment, especially in the P2 field.
No, I'll agree with you there. But yeah, no, these American tracks have got a very certain style about them which you don't see around the rest of the world. These like Watkins Glen, Virginia, Road Atlanta, Barber, just to name a couple. They've got these curbs. The few curbs that they do have around the track are like this one that we're about to see Jonas Beckman go through. They're massive. They're like a foot tall. You could barely touch them, and the elevations are ridiculous on them all as well. And they don't sometimes bring the best racing. Watkins Glen does bring good racing, but other tracks less so. But they're just brilliant to drive. I think they're great drivers' tracks through and through.
Yeah, definitely very much driver orientated or sort of driver focused almost tracks where just like you said, they're not maybe not as much as interesting to watch as a viewer and to commentate on, but as a driver, especially like say Road Atlanta for Petit Le Mans, that race is just carnage because it's so easy to make a mistake at tracks like this, and it's so easy to have incidents as well, where you just get cars disappearing all over the place, and it's more of a race of attrition. Definitely seems to be what's happening today as well, where it's just a race of attrition.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Actually, speaking of that, because I don't want to spark this memory, but I'm going to for you. You did the Road Atlanta 10 hours last 2 seasons ago now. Like you said, it was a race of attrition, and just an example of that. How did your race go? That I think you
had to bring that up, didn't you?
It's a good story. It's a good story. People want to hear it.
Well, people say cats have 9 lives. We definitely had 9 lives that day and used them all. I think we had probably an incident every hour where we avoided certain death, and then got to half an hour at the end of the race. Someone rejoined at the top of the hill at turn 2 in front of me and put me in a wall. And the P2 being the P2 had the wheel glitch, so that was the end of it. I think we finished 7th overall, but we were fighting we were leading, I think, at that time. I think we were either leading or 3rd along, definitely top 3. Yeah, it was. It's just one of those things where you're in collision avoidance mode all day. You try and just stay out of trouble, and the one time I was pushing, I got punished for it. It's a hard time.
Yeah, I think there's certain tracks where you've got attrition over outright pace, like track races like the Road Atlanta 10 hours and the N24 and the Watkins Glen 6-hour that we'll be seeing later this year, that's very much attrition because people can die so easily on them. And then you've got other tracks as well, like you get to Le Mans 24, Spa 24, or the Daytona 24. It's all pace. If you're off the pace there, people rarely crash around those kind of tracks, and you've got to be on it non-stop. I know myself, I'm a very slow driver. I'm not a very clean driver, but I prefer the attrition-based races. What about yourself? Do you prefer having races where you've got to push outright for 24 hours straight, hot lap after hot lap, or the ones where you can sit back and kind of let the car do its thing and let the race come to you?
Sort of a bit of both, really. Like it depends on what you're looking for in a race. I feel like if you're looking to not put in the utmost of effort and to have just to have a race, for example, I feel like the races that are more attrition based probably suit that more. Just because as long as you're a clean enough driver, or you know the car well enough, you can probably keep the car out of trouble for a few hours or whatever, that sort of thing, where and a result will tend to just come to you, providing you keep your nose clean. But the pace-based ones definitely, you've got to be on it and you've got to put in the effort. You've got to want the result, and for that, like I find, especially like Le Mans 24 is the Le Mans 24. You're going to put in practice for that, aren't you? It's the one everyone wants to win. So for that, like obviously that was our goal for the last year's official, and if they do an official this year, it'll be the same. And for the ISRC one, it's the same. It's the main focus at the moment. But the N24 is more looking like it's just going to be one of those enjoyable ones, and it's either or. I don't really mind. I'll take any endurance race. I'll be honest. It just depends on what car it is and whether it's any good and fun race.
Exactly. I think it's something that, especially at the moment, sim racing's become so big and so competitive that people is focused on pace, and I think it takes. I know our team internally have been doing it, but you've got to step back a little bit and just think about like actually what you're all here for. You got just enjoy racing, and the results will start to come to you. And I feel like these the N24 and these other races that'll be coming up, it's important that everybody, for the sake of having a longevity race and enjoying racing and enjoying sim racing over a long term, races cars that they enjoy instead of just going for the absolute fastest car, but it crashes 50% of the laps. You kind of got to make sure you're enjoying something and driving it, because I know that we've both driven. Bloody hell, he shot Derek eventually close to the wall there on the back straight. And Dio Schroeder enters the pit lane. But me and you, I know from experience, both of us know that driving a ruined car or a car that isn't fun over 24 hours, it just kills you. It really does.
Yeah, it's one of those things, especially like in just all of sim racing, I find, where if you force yourself to do something, either a race or drive a car, whatever, if you're forcing yourself to do something in sim racing that you didn't want to do originally, or you don't love, or if your heart's not in it and you're forcing yourself to do it, you get burnt out. And it happens. It's happened to me. It's probably happened to you. It's one of those, like you say, if you force yourself to drive the fastest car and you don't like it, it's just not gonna be enjoyable. And I feel like there will be a lot of people, especially coming towards the end of lockdown, whether it'll be the end of COVID, no one knows, probably not. But coming towards the end of the UK lockdowns and that sort of thing, there's going to be a lot of people that started at the start of, or sort of towards the start of the pandemic last year. And sim racing obviously boomed, didn't it, last year with like the virtual Le Mans and all that sort of thing. Just sim racing had a meteoric rise in the last 12 months. And I feel like you've got a lot of newbies now that have been on it for like the last year, and they're going to be at the point where they're going to get burnt out from just driving so many races in the last year. And don't be wrong, it's good with all these newbies coming in and taking, joining leagues, doing officials, that sort of thing. It's great, but it's not going to. I feel like we'll see like league entries and that sort of thing, and official race numbers drop slightly, just from people just getting burnt out. yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I know that we've had we've struggled. I know that I've struggled. You've struggled. It's just in these lockdowns, in these hard times, we've had nothing to do but sim race. So you go out there, it's every day you wake up and you get on the rig and you spend a couple of hours a day driving. Then you have your endurance race. And it won't go to plan. It takes it out of you. You end up going back down to you end up just not wanting to drive for a while. And now that wherever you're in the world, I know that a lot of places are opening back up again. Unfortunately, France might be entering another lockdown, but it seems like a lot of places around the world are starting to relax their lockdowns. Their life is coming back to some sort of norm, and it's important that everyone gets out there and finds that balance that we had before. Keeping sim racing as a spare time in your hobby as well, getting out there and as whilst abiding by social distancing, start playing your sports again that you may do, go-karting, walking. Just make sure that you get yourself out there, keep you mentally sane, but make sure as well that you do abide by the COVID-19 regulations wherever you may be in the world, wearing your face masks.
Yes, definitely. Just keep yourself out of trouble. I can attest, lockdown is boring. Being self-isolated is very boring. You'd think 10 days sim racing or 10 days in the house, not having to go to work is brilliant, but no, it's not.
So we're seeing a slow-mo shot here of our leader, Celia Nicholson. Sorry, not our leader, sorry, our 7th place car, Celia Nicholson. It looks like Marcus Solheim's managed to get back out on track, so he's running again. Slow-mo shot of Nicholson running through and just wide at Moss Corner. Is he going to leap the car around? Yes, he is. Hopefully be able to get going again. But yeah, go back to what you said. It's I know this time last year is when COVID started kicking off, and it's when that's when last year I chose to organise the 24 hours to quarantine. I'm sure we had a completely full grid, 62 cars, and a lot of you may have competed in it. And it was great for the first 2 weeks, and then after that, so what else can you do?
All of a sudden racing becomes a chore. Yeah, that was a good event, to be fair. That the quarantine event, it felt like sort of everyone pulling together and it was felt like quite a community-esque vibe. It was great. And like you say, it was good for the first sort of 2 weeks, but it drags on. It's almost exciting at the start because it's something completely different. I mean, not exciting, but you know what I mean? Like, it's something very different. And then after a month or two, it really drags on and it's just not much fun.
Exactly, yeah.
Interesting nod to karting as well, you mentioned in there. Definitely nice to get back out and do some karting when everything opens back up and we're available to do that again.
Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people would like to.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you guys have got any karting experience. Myself and Harry have both competed in. We competed in a 6-hour at Buckmore Park in the United Kingdom, and I've also done one in Milton Keynes. If it's something that you guys get a chance to do, a go-karting endurance race, if you enjoy sim racing, it's a really awesome event and experience. It's like I don't know, it's all the excitement of a sim racing 24, but you're doing it in real life, or like a sim racing 6, but you're doing it in real life, and it's really awesome. If you can find a local karting track by you when they reopen, I'm sure they will be hosting some form of endurance event, and I could strongly recommend going along and just trying out. There'll be people from all different categories there, all different skills and backgrounds, and just make sure you go out there and have fun and experience the world of karting. It's really good fun. And I'm sure I speak for Harv as well, where they say that we both can't wait to get back out there and back out in the kart again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's interesting as well. I found how much of sim racing you can take onto a kart track with you, especially with like the sort of mental thing of like all of the racecraft and that sort of all of that side of racing that don't think of as much while you're driving, like the battling aspect when you're around other karts. If you've got racing experience on board, like in iRacing and that sort of thing, the mental aspect with racecraft really does help you. I found that a lot, Buckmore being quite a technical track, especially towards the top end of the track, around other cars, like around the hairpin section, that sort of thing, you have a lot of option to overtake in that section of the track. And if you're not experienced, you haven't got much on-track experience, more so, it's probably quite difficult, I would imagine, to set up an overtake and get around other cars and just negotiate the track safely. But if you've got sim racing experience, it just seems to come to you a lot easier and a lot quicker.
Yeah, it does.
You found that.
No, I totally agree with that. And I know I started the race for our kart. You had another driving start in your karts. We had 2 karts entered in this race, and it's from sim racing. What transfers over is really insane. I can remember when I started my kart race, it's that awareness of it where everyone's around you translates over from the simulators, and you can see crashes happening further up ahead, and you can see that the other guys that are there that have just come along and don't have much racing experience, you can see that they they don't avoid these accidents that you can see further up the road. And sim racing really is turning into a viable option for training aids and ways of people that can get into motorsport. And it's a really good way it's really good seeing that places like McLaren Shadow and Williams are recognizing this and getting sim racers into cars, and it's just sim racing is growing so much more and more, and the skills do genuinely transfer over. I'm going to say it again, once you're able to, I'd strongly recommend that anybody who's not thought of go-karting and doing an endurance race or something, just go out there, contact your local track, and it's great fun. It really, really is, and guarantee you'll love it.
Yeah, definitely. I know there's someone in this race, or I know definitely Marcus has his own kart, I believe, and he does karting outside of sim racing in his spare time when it's available.
Yes, he does. Yeah, I know he's. You can check it out on his YouTube channel, Nunu Marcus. He's got several videos of himself doing some karting endurance races, and he's just recently, within the last year, bought his own go-kart to start running his championship. So best of luck with him. But yeah, karting's fun and relatively affordable at the lower end levels to get into real racing, and a lot of professional sim racers go-kart as well. I know Max Beneke's had go-karting experience, and Williams eSports driver Josh Thompson's also runs in a go-karting series, and yeah, it does transfer over.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. I think I've got a race booked for the end of May. I'm hoping that's going to go ahead. That has been postponed about 3 or 4 times now, so hopefully that will still go ahead. But 300 laps of Wilson Mill should certainly kick back off the karting addiction once all of this jazz is over, I think.
Yeah, well, I think it's you've been sim racing, you've been behind a wheel for the best part of last year, but to do it in real life and in anger again, I think should be really good. And Wilton Mill is a track which I've not driven before, but I've seen lots of videos on it. Oh my god, it looks fun. It looks like a brilliant laugh, and I wish you the best luck with it, and hopefully you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'm certain I'll enjoy it. The most memorable time of being to Wilton Mill was when we arrived and it was about 1 degree Celsius, and when we left, the puddles were frozen that we walked over back to our cars, and it was certainly slippery and cold that evening, that's for sure. But managed to survive the hour of practice with 2 pairs of gloves to see ourselves through.
You have to put socks on your hands if it gets that bad. No, it's.
I remember at Buckmore it was rather cold as well, because I believe we did it in early December, and it was definitely towards the end of the race when it was going dark. It really was the physical aspect really takes its toll on me towards the end of the race. Definitely felt like you've been in a fight towards the end of it if you hit the curbs a couple too many times.
You've come out of it battered and bruised, you're kind of limping back to your car because your whole body's knackered. Then you realise you've got a 5-hour car journey back to your house, but it's all in good fun, all in good nature.
Yeah,
very
absolutely. I'm just wondering if we're going to start to see some scheduled pit stops soon. We have just crossed over 34 and a quarter minutes gone in this race. We're expecting LMP2s to be in about the 35-minute mark, so with Pedersen a minute 40 lead and not having to take to the pits previously, I think it'll be a one and only LMP2 car with a scheduled pit stop this evening.
Yeah, so Schroeder we should be seeing come in soon within the next, I'm going to say 4 laps would be my guess, that we should see him coming in. And as well, our 2 leaders in the GT3 category, Jonas Beckman and John Derek, they both haven't had to pit yet, and they should be coming in anytime soon. Every other driver has had to make a pit stop, whether it be for damage or other reasons. So it looks like we're going to have 3 cars coming in within the next 5 minutes to serve their one and only pit stops, and it might shake things up a little bit.
Well, it looked like a couple of laps ago, Derek was definitely the faster of the 2 GT3 cars, so whether Beckman's pushed maybe a little bit too hard to get that gap, I'm not sure, but the gap seems to be sitting pretty stable at the moment. Whether we'll see that change after the pit stops is another matter.
Yeah, this is the closest on-track battle we've got. The gap's currently 7.3 seconds. John Derek comes across the line now. Let's see what kind of lap time he did compared to Beckman. Last lap, Jonas Beckman did a 17.95, and John Derek just over a tenth faster with a 17.82. So the gap, give or take a tenth every lap, is staying around that 17.5 mark. But the pit stops, we don't know, because these McLarens and the McLaren and Lamborghini are different fuel tanks and different fuel rates that they'll be filling up at different amounts of fuel. As we see our leader coming in, Finn Pettersson is now into the pit lane for his scheduled pit stop. He should be taking on just over half a tank of fuel, before then finishing the end of the race, or heading to the end of the race. Lauri Capella then should be the next car in about 8 laps time to serve his next scheduled stop.
Interesting to see how much time Pedersen is in the pits, as he's just pulled out of his pit stop based on my timing screen, 24 seconds, and out you pop out on the track just behind Capella. So Capella's managed to unlap himself for the moment, but obviously has another pit stop to make.
Whether he'll take on a full tank or a full stop like Pedersen is another matter. I believe he's been in the pits once already.
Yeah, he came in on lap 8 and had a 10-second stop, so he might have taken that opportunity to top up, but there's a lot of smoke out there. I think that might be Capella off the circuit, the inside of Moss corner.
That is with that corner there has caused a lot of problems so far. There's a bump on the inside. I've seen both Corpella, that was the reason why he pitted in, and Schroeder. They both made pit stops because of that little bump on the inside. So I don't know if that's the same thing again. I don't know if we're going to be able to get a replay of it or not. But yeah, there's a bump on the inside there, which might have just spun him around. Yep, here we go back. Is it that bump? It is the same bump again. What are you doing, iRacing?
It looks like
just looks like the car bottoms out over the bump.
Yeah, it looks as if there's a change in the track surface there. There's a little patch that someone's put in there, but they haven't compacted it down enough. But you know, iRacing circuits are laser scans, so you'd be damned if that wasn't accurate. So I wonder if the IMSA series, when they go there, run a slightly higher ride height to counteract that.
Yeah, actually, when we saw the replay just then, you could see that the leader, Pedersen, was actually taking a wider line through that corner. So he obviously knows about this bump, and he's opting not to run that tighter line for fear of that happening. You would have thought that Corpella would be running a slightly wider line after it happened the first time, but he's not, and hopefully he hasn't got any damage and he's able to keep on going. But yeah, I'm surprised that even if the track is laser scan, I'm surprised they have such a big bump there on the apex of such a high-speed corner.
Yeah, that can't be the safest thing in the world, but having such a sizable, well, it seems like quite a sizable bump on the inside of a corner. I imagine with the iRacing's update to the smoke as well, that was quite a hairy moment for Pedersen coming up to a lapped car with just a smoke screen in front of him.
I must admit, that is one of my favourite updates that iRacing's added recently. They've got the best smoke model by far. I know I've had a couple of experiences where cars spin in front of you and you can't see anything. I think it's really good, and I'm glad that they've taken that on as Capella now enters the pit lane after that bump. This should be in theory his last stop, as he's going to pull into his pit box. It'll be interesting to see how long he's going to spend stationary for. Pedersen was stopped for 24 seconds. However, Capella would have not had to. Yeah, Capella would have taken fuel earlier on in the race. See if he moves away any earlier.
Yeah, so he hasn't run as long as we thought he might, but we do know that these LMP2 cars, or I certainly know from experience through a Ascari chicane at Monza, that they are susceptible. If you do launch the bottom of the car over the curbs, then they will pretty instantly expire your engine. So I'm wondering if he's had to pit as a result of rising water temperatures there, but hopefully we'll see him back out. He's currently spent 50 seconds in the pits, stopped in his pit box, so not a normal stop after we're seeing Pedersen stop for 24 seconds, so I'm afraid I think he's going to have a bit of damage there he's trying to repair.
It's never a good sign, and something that I've only just noticed now is the car that we're on board with, Dio Schroeder, has gotten past, but more importantly for Dio, he pitted on lap 20. So that means, in my books, that if Schroeder pitted in after 32 laps, if Pedersen pitted in after 32 laps, that Schroeder now could be on till the end of the race. Hopefully, for his sake, hopefully for him, he'll be securing second place.
Yeah, as Corpella's now been in the pits for a lap and a half, so pretty substantial damage I think he suffered as a result of that unsafe bump, as Harry said. So yeah, that is really unfortunate. With that will make half of the LMP2 field out this evening.
Yeah, although Solheim isn't out, he's running, but just by himself. 6.5 minutes off the back of the pack. He's one lap behind the next car, which is a GT3. He's going to be trying to get past that. If I was in his books, I'd take it. Getting past the GT3s and finishing ahead of them after what he's been through so far would be, a win in my books if I was in his position at the moment.
I would imagine any minute now we're going to see the GT3 field box, probably within the next couple of laps.
Yeah, you're right. The top two runners, Jonas Beckman and John Derrick, is still yet to pit. They should be in any minute now. We saw them coming in around the 40 to 45 minute mark last time out at Watkins Glen, and we might be seeing the same again here, as they'll be fueling up shortly for the final 15 minutes.
Gap between those two currently sitting just around, or just under 10 seconds, 9.5, 10 seconds. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if there's a pit stop shake-up or not.
Yeah, every time we look at my timing screens, John Derrick seems to be going faster than Beckman, but the gap is extending. Don't know how that's happening. It might be, I don't know. Timing screens might be playing up.
I think selectively looking at your screens, perhaps you just so happen to glance across it. But no, he's certainly trying, which was good. On last lap, he was 0.8 of a second quicker than Jonas Beckman ahead of him. So and just under a 9-second gap at the moment, and 17 minutes left. So we'll hopefully be able to close that in, and maybe, as you say, he's been saving some fuel throughout the race, and therefore he'll have a shorter stop, and that'll be that.
Be nice if they gave us some fireworks for the finish.
Yeah, I think they could. iRacing could invest in some fireworks for Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. We'll see. We've got 47. No, we don't. We've got 17 minutes left in the race, and to see whether there's any fireworks going off for our winners, our leaders at the moment, Pedersen and Beckman in their respective P2 and P3 classes.
Similar sort of style to Twin Ring, like we had in the 12-hour. bit of a bit of a surprise that seemed to most drivers.
If I'm not mistaken, so for those of you who don't know, the Intercontinental Sim Racing Endurance Challenge is an endurance championship that we've run. The final round is this weekend at Le Mans. Last round we ran a twin ring, and as the drivers came around to finish in the dark, the fireworks went off all around the track. And I believe a couple of drivers, one or two drivers, went off because they weren't expecting it, and their computers might have suffered a little bit from the graphical strain in the final lap of the race. But it's a surprise, but a nice one, I guess.
Yeah, it gave us a great opportunity to we crowned an LMP2 championship winner at that race. So that was a really good opportunity to get some photos of them, and really good moment. Really cool with those fireworks in the evening. Yeah,
I totally agree with you there. And speaking of the LMP2s, all of the Aquiver LMP2 drivers will be attending. All of the drivers out on track at the moment, will be attending the ISRC Le Mans next weekend. So Laurie Capella, he'll be racing in a GTE Porsche, whereas Theo Schroeder and Marcus Olholm will both be running in LMP2s in separate cars, along with a couple of other competitors. Full 60-car grid, and it should be a good race.
Did you see a replay of Nick Larson going through the first corner? Another lovely slow-mo shot of his BMW. Believe he might have had a bit of an off-track there. He's going a bit wide, 2 wheels, 4 wheels on the grass. Big slide, kicking up all the dirt, all of the... Oh, no, and that's kicked badly. And he's... Oh, dear, that's rolled him, and he's stuck in the wall, so he's had to have towed back to pit lane from there. He's briefly stuck it in reverse to try and get it out, but with the wheels not touching the ground, that didn't do him any good, unfortunately.
That's going to hurt his chances of the championship as well. If he is unable to finish, which unfortunately with that kind of damage, I'm surprised if he is able to make the end. That would promote Jamie Daniels, who's in second in the championship, up into the lead, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, that's a big movement in the championship for the moment.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, Isaac. Jamie Daniels is sitting 5 points behind Nick Larson at the moment, but a full 25 points for a class win would project him to a 20-point lead if Nick Larson wasn't able to finish.
Very interesting indeed, and it's all still to play for. After this, we've got 5 more rounds at the championship. Next race will be at the newly added Hockenheim. That'll be on the 12th of April, next Monday. Followed by Road America and then Sebring for rounds 5 and 6. Then for our final 3 races of the championship, Silverstone, Road Atlanta and Daytona. They'll be running through every Monday until the 24th of May. So if you want to get involved in this in P2 or GT3, go ahead and join the Discord. You can find a link to it in the description, and as well on our info board at the end of the race if you'd like to get involved and try and do your part in the championship.
So we've got a GT3 in the pits at the moment. Beckman just pulled into the box now.
That's our leader coming into the pits, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, you see Derek getting a bit of a slide on there through turn number 2. So that's Beckman into the pits. He's the leader. And John Derrick's going to be going 1 lap longer. Is he going to be able to save 10 seconds on fuel? I'll be very surprised, but we'll see what happens on the pit exit. He should be coming in the next 2 laps or so then. And only... Sorry, go on.
Sorry, just as we shot across to John Derrick there, it sounded as if he was letting off and using the clutch again to save a bit of fuel, and that's probably maybe caught him out as he re-engaged it over the crest. Yeah, so doing a very good job to save fuel once again.
Yeah, yes. As you see Larry Capella going off. Same bump again, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it?
Yes, same place.
Same result, unfortunately. He's crawling that out of the way. As we look back at a replay, let's see what happens. Oh dear, he's found another bump. That is absolutely terrible. Well, he's gone wider of his initial point of impact on previous occasions, but has managed to find another one. How bizarre.
That's quite peculiar. I've never seen a bump run all the way across the track like that before.
Obviously, I'm doing research for the tarmac specialists to go and resurface that corner, which I'm sure you will want for after this race, having found 2 fairly sizable bumps now.
Yeah, I think that's why we pay our iRacing subscription, isn't it? So we can get the resurfacing of all of the circuits to be nice and silky smooth.
Tarmac calendar, if you're listening to this, we've got a spot of tarmac that needs redoing for you. We won't pay, but I'm sure iRacing and Motorsport will. So get on it.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, it's worse than Sebring.
I wouldn't go that far.
And that is known for it. I mean, you know, that's outrageous.
Pedersen seemingly threading the needle between the 2 bumps Capella has found, watching him go through there, then cutting it really close to the edge of that tarmac change without actually hitting it. So he's obviously found the line. He's done his research.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's paying off for him at the moment, over a lap's lead at the moment for Pedersen, and to Schroeder, who's behind in second, and Corpella, who's 5 laps down now at this point and back in the pits again, with what I can only presume is more damage to the car. Floor damage is the only thing I could imagine, and it really is a shame to see.
And Derek still hasn't pitted yet, interestingly. So he's really going long.
Nearly. How long's left in the race at the moment? 10 minutes left. He's managed to make this last an awfully long time. That is some fuel saving. Could you go to the end on the tank? He's currently got... Trying to find the gap here. He's got a... that looks like almost a third of a lap. About a quarter of a lap's gap back to Jonas Beckman. Is this fuel saving going to pay off for him? Because he is losing a fair amount of time at the moment. Actually, saying that, last time by, he's actually faster by nearly half a second.
Yeah, gap hasn't really changed since Beckman pitted. Well, since Beckman came out of the pit, sorry. And there hasn't been much of a gap change since then, so this is going to be really interesting to see if he can go all the way. Just
hearing him pull in the clutch there as he goes into turn 1, just the revs completely die down. He's doing some serious fuel saving.
Seeing the closing speed on that P2 then coming past him, that's something you don't want to see in your mirrors so many of the time.
The most insane thing I find is when you're in a GT car and you're battling and all of a sudden there's a P1 behind you in a braking zone. It comes out of a corner and it presses its hybrid button, and all of a sudden it's half a lap ahead of you within a matter of seconds. The boost is ridiculous in those P1 cars, and the P2s, the cornering speed as well is just ferocious. It's insane.
Seems to be using a lot of the runoff there as well, using all of the track available to him. He's paid for the track and he's going to use all of it.
Exactly.
He's using as much of it as possible.
It's that's a good way to look at it. If you're gonna buy a track, use all of it, like Harry rightfully says. So if any of you are listening at home and if you want to do your next race, run up to the barriers and use all of it.
Being informed that the corner with the bump, he's letting it roll down the hill into the next corner, so that must be saving a massive chunk of fuel. Really being careful with how much throttle he's using. Being very, very conservative with the fuel usage.
So just 7 minutes to go now. He's the only way I can see this now is he must be aiming to go to the end now on 1 tank of fuel.
Yeah, even a splash and dash is surely gonna put him out of contention.
Yeah, I'm just having a look now. So it'll lose 25 seconds driving through the pit lane without stopping, and the gap currently is 19 seconds. So he must, if he's looking to win this race, he must be trying to fuel save to the end. If he can do that, then fair dinkum to him. He'll have deserved it.
Yeah, that'll be a mammoth effort to get to the end on 1 tank. That'll be quite something to watch.
And that is his challenger, Jonas Beckman in the Lamborghini. Jonas pitting in on lap 36. He'll have taken enough fuel to the end and he'll be running full chat now. But even then, last time by, only just slower than 1/10 slower than Beckman last lap by. As we now see our AM leader, Jamie Daniels, coming into the pits, and actually the only car running in the AM category after Nicole had that unfortunate accident, ending his race prematurely.
Schroeder just boxing in as well.
That
That looked like a drive-through, actually. Or was he... Did he stop? Yeah, it was 12 seconds. That might have been a drive-through.
Did he... that might be the 12-point incident limit there coming into play. If I'm not mistaken, that might be... Yeah. It's quite a tall...
Could well have been a drive-through.
Quite a harsh instant limit, and it looks like the track's pulling you off almost at some places. So, yeah, that might be him paying his dues for leaving the track.
Yeah, you've got the grass pulling you off the track and that bump spitting you off it as well. So it's a bit of a tough situation if you're so inclined to get a few incident points throughout the race, as I tend to be.
Yeah, it's most people, a couple of these drivers, sorry, seem to be spending a bit more time off the track than on it. But it seems like the track's almost wanting to hurl the drivers off at every corner.
Yeah, it's Marcus Solheim hasn't given up the pressure on trying to get back with the leading group. He's trying very hard out of Moss Corner that lap. Yeah, still doing respectable lap times, but yeah, he's still unfortunately 7 laps off the lead and another 1.5 off Laurie Capella, the next in class. So
just watching his corner entry there, he was really on it. Corner entry, he is pushing. Must be banking on Capella having to pit again, maybe making a... If Capella makes another mistake, he must be banking on that, trying to get a podium.
I think you could be absolutely right there.
Beckman going purple as well. In our GT3 battle, Beckman's just gone purple. Gap's come down to 16.9. It was hovering just around the 20. So that is Beckman, a sign of Beckman pressing on, trying to hope that Derek doesn't.
So yeah, that last time by, like you were saying, Harvey, the Jonas Beckman, the fastest of the GT3 runners last time around, setting his personal best lap. He's really on it and gunning right now. John Derrick, so he's completely committed now. Only 3.5 minutes left in the race to go, and he must be saving fuel like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, and this will be, I think, a landmark win for Derek if he manages to hold on to it, and showing everybody how it's done. I mean, the fuel limits were set at 75%, so we were expecting a 45-minute fuel stint, but if you can make that work, then that would be an amazing job. So you can maybe go a whole extra third of a stint longer, but maybe the rolling hills of Mosport, Bowmanville, are helping him do that.
Yeah, it's making me feel bad about myself. I can barely get near these times running at full track in quali trim. He's sat here fuel saving, and yeah, I struggle to fuel save half a litre most of the time, but he's doing an incredible job, and hopefully for his sake the strategy works off for him and he gets the result he's looking for.
Looks like his pace is maybe slowing because that gap is tumbling now in the last few laps.
Yeah, he dropped 4.5 seconds, so yeah, 2.5 that last lap, but 2 minutes left, so he's got probably this lap and one more, depending on where Pedersen, our overall leader, is. I'd say he's on to hold on to that and should take it.
Yeah, as long as he can hold on with the fuel, he should be okay.
Listen, it's just silent running through there. Pretty much an electric McLaren at that point as he's going down into turn number 2. And like you were saying before, Martin, he lifts and coasts pretty much from the exit of this corner. He'll be lifting from about now all the way down the hill. This time, not lifting off this time, but maybe he has got enough fuel. If I'm not mistaken, there was no lift there last time through.
Maybe he's got to a point where he's confident he can continue to push and go back into a normal rhythm, normal driving rhythm without the fuel saving, and maybe he's a bit more comfortable doing that. So, in the last couple of minutes, looking at my timing screen, Nikolajsen, BMW had that awful time at the exit of turn 1, is back out on track after a 13.5-minute stop. So good to see that he will finish the race.
Yep, and as well, that is our leaders, and Pedersen about to pass John Derrick to start the final lap of the race. So here we are, just the drivers are taking the white flag now. So make their way through turn 1 now, unless John Derrick's really struggling with fuel. It's a 10-second gap at the moment, so he'll be doing all that he can to slurp that petrol back into his fuel tank.
He'll just be begging and begging. It doesn't start coughing now. He's done all this work.
Start coughing at 0.3 litres, is it? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yeah. I think it's 0.3 litres, yeah.
Just see if he's gonna. The gap's down to. He's lost 2 seconds since the start of the lap at this point. If the lap was any longer, I'd be really worried.
Beckman really on it for these last couple of laps, trying to get that gap down as much as he can.
And this is our leader at the moment, Finn Pedersen, starting from pole position, leading every single lap of the race. Absolutely dominant as he comes out of the final corner to win the race, flashing the lights there as he comes across the line to win. Awesome drive by him. Theo Schroeder will be coming in second place, but here we are, John Derrick, the man, fuel saved. 75% of a fuel tank to last a full hour. Awesome drive by him to take the win in the GT3 Pro category. And this is our GT3 AM winner, Jamie Daniels. You saw him having some issues earlier on, and he's able to keep on going though, and he comes across the line to win the GT3 AM category. Awesome drive by him and all of the other competitors out on track today.
Yeah, mammoth effort from all of our class winners. Really good driving.
Yeah, as you see, Marcus Solheim as well after that unfortunate couple of incidents at the start of the race, coming home in 4th in class, 6th overall. That'll help his championship effort nonetheless. As we wait for all of our finishers to come across the line to bring up our official results in just a minute's time.
Yes, it looked like a bit of damage on Nicolaison's car at the end there. Maybe he chose to exit the pit to make sure he finished the race without taking all of the repairs.
Yeah, there is not much of a front end left on that, is there?
Okay, a little bit second-hand there. Yeah, that BMW, but nice to see the mechanics doing their job. I'm sure he'll be sharing a cold one with all the boys back in the garage that they were able to get that car back out on track again to finish the race. As he comes to a standstill. And we see our race winner, Finn Nergart. Pedersen lights to flag, dominant victory from himself. He slowly makes his way back around to the pit lane. As there are qualifying results, sorry about that. And these are our final race finishing results. Finn Pedersen wins the race for Obsidian Edge, getting himself 25 points in the championship. Awesome drive from him from first in qualifying to winning the race overall, followed closely behind, or not closely behind, sorry, 3 laps ahead of the next car, Theo Schroeder. We saw him having issues at the start, but was able to bring it back round to finish in second place. And then Laurie Capella seeming to attract the bump going down into Moss Corner. Able to finish in third place, getting himself 16 points in the championship. As we then look at our fourth place finisher in the LMP2 category and 6th overall, Marcus Solheim. That'll be gaining him 13 points in the championship after a big crash about 20 minutes into the race, meaning that he was on a recovery drive all the way since then. John Derrick, we saw him managing to make an entire fuel tank last one stint. Awesome drive by him. He should be very proud of himself in the McLaren to come through and win the GT3 Pro Championship with Jonas Beckman in the Lamborghini for Aquiver Motorsports, finishing just behind in second place. very close at the end. One or two more, or one more lap, and there's a very good chance that John Derrick wouldn't have been able to hold that lead out any longer. Jamie Daniels was our winner for Omega Racing in the GT3 AM category. Brilliant drive from him, led the entire race in the GT3 AM category ahead of our other drivers, Silas Nikolsson, one of our privateer runners, having a massive accident on the exit of turn one. Meaning that he spent a good amount of time in the pits, but still able to finish the race to get him those all-important championship points.
Yeah, absolutely. As we have some interviews. So, as I try and drag in Finn Norgard Pedersen, our LMP2 leader. Lights to flag, pole position, and everything. You couldn't ask for much more for your inaugural run in this league. How did it go from your perspective?
Yeah, it was. I think I got a lot more practice than the guys, so I had a pretty good idea of how to take the different lines and how to handle the bump, and then just went on from there.
Yeah, you seem to handle that bump better than anybody else, that's for sure. Laura Capella seemed to have an absolute nightmare with it, but you managed to find that that line in the practice laps you did then?
Yeah, well, I took a few different lines, and sometimes you just hit it when you go on the racing line out of nowhere. But I found a line right on the right side of it that works pretty well, so that's pretty good.
Ah, fantastic stuff. Isaac, Harry, any questions for Mr. Pedersen?
As you were saying, obviously you did a very good drive there from lights to flag finishing. So you reckon that's just down to your practice, or did you have a good setup behind you as well? I know a lot of the other no series have really been to Canadian Tire recently. So have you been running your own setup, or one that you've adapted from a different racetrack?
Well, it's basically Sebring because of the bump, and then modified a bit. But I think I was the other guys were so nice and lent me one of their setups. But I think I was running a bit more toe in and camber, so got a bit more rotation in some of the corners. But it was a bit more sketchy in the double right-hander. So
Yeah, nonetheless, you're still able to win by a commanding 3 laps. So awesome drive from yourself. Will we be seeing you back at Hockenheim?
Yeah, I hope so. I won't be able to practice as much as I'll be gone on the weekend, but hopefully I'll make the race.
Excellent. Well, we hope to see you then, and we'll let you get away now. Brilliant drive from yourself, and we hope to see you again soon. That was our race winner, Finn Pedersen. As we now pull into our commentary box, John Derrick. John, what happened? You managed to do an entire race on 75% of a tank.
Yeah, yeah, it was quite exciting. It was about 35 litres, I think I ended up saving. I was playing around in quali, seeing if it was possible or not. And it looked like it probably was, with a lot of the gravity and stuff of like the downhill slopes. So I gave it a go. And luckily it didn't backfire, but it could have like had a few iffy moments, but yeah.
Oh, well done. How much fuel did you cross the line with in the end?
Something like 0.3 of a litre, I think. I was coughing over the line, let's put it. I got a bit worried about the final litre I had to save, so yeah, it was a bit sketchy at the end, but yeah, about 0.3 of a litre or something.
Oh, fantastic stuff. And so you tried that strategy to see if it was possible throughout qualifying. And what did you start that strategy from the start of the race, or did you get a few laps in and decide that Beckman was probably a bit quicker or something like that, and then go over it from there?
I thought it was probably like quite doable, and I think like when you have to try and avoid a pit stop like that, the only way you can sort of do it is from the start. So that was my plan. Even on the pace lap, I was just like, I need to go save as much fuel as possible. Lots of big lifts and things. So yeah, that was the plan from the start at least. Just try and keep him about 10 seconds in front, because obviously the pit stop and stuff, like I still need a bit of time behind me if I do have to pit, if I've mucked up the fuel. But yeah, that was the plan from the start. Yeah.
very well driven, and I know in the commentary box we were saying, oh, they'll be coming into the pits anytime now. Next time by, he'll be in the pits. Next time by, it just never happened. And
I was really worried as well. I was sort of like trying to work out when he was going to pit as well, and I was like, am I going mad? I was like, did we have 100% fuel for this race? And I've just been an absolute idiot and just like, but yeah, so I was worried that he hadn't pit as well. So I was like, has someone tricked me or something about the fuel limit? But yeah, no, so yeah.
Very, very well driven, and yeah, hopefully we'll be seeing you back. We'll be seeing you back again for Hockenheim.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it'll be good fun.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, well done. That's 3 wins on the trot in all 3 rounds so far. So that's some really good momentum that you'll be carrying on to Hockenheim. Well done.
Cheers. Yeah, Hockenheim should be good fun. Nice new track as well. So yeah.
Fantastic. John Derek there is. We'll see him in Hockenheim in 1 week's time. And now we have Mr. Jamie Daniels from Omega Racing in his BMW, and a first-time winner for our AM category there. How did the race go for you, Jamie?
I mean, the race didn't... Yeah, I mean, I won, but it wasn't great. Had a couple off-tracks, had a drive-through even, because of the 12X. But yeah, just sad, not a lot of participations, because... Yeah, I think with my pace, I shouldn't have won if more people would have joined. So yeah, there's still points are points. So
yeah, absolutely, and you got to be in it to win it as well.
True.
With the BMW, did you find? Obviously, you mentioned there you had the drive-through for the incident points. Do you find the BMW anything of a handful, or like does it have any quirks you find sort of difficult to manage?
I think for me, there's more of a personal thing, but most cars, it's just tire wear. Tires really started to drop off at the end, so a lot of understeer, turn 1, turn 2. Yeah, overall, pretty nice to drive. Pretty solid, like, it almost felt like a boat, but a fast boat.
Yeah, it's to me, it seems a little bit like the M8 with the way it handles and the way it takes bumps and that sort of thing. But what sort of setup did you have to try and run with that? Because obviously it's a very... it's never run here.
I used last race Watkins set because I didn't have time to make one. No modifications, just I did 1 click of wing extra, but no, just Watkins with 1 click extra wing.
If it works, it works.
It works. I mean, Jonas also used Watkins set, so
nice. Will we be seeing you next time round for Hockenheim?
Of course, always.
Lovely, good to see you.
Brilliant, that's excellent to hear. That was our GT3 AM race winner, Jamie Daniels, in the commentary booth. If you guys enjoyed the race today, please let us know by liking the video. You can find out more information via the link to the Discord in the description below. We've just had join the commentary box Marcus Solholm. We saw you had a pretty rough race earlier today. Is there anything you'd like to say about your race and about this championship that you've got going on?
First of all, the race was pretty terrible for me. On lap 1, I just understeered like absolute mad because so Laurie and Theo did some setup testing during the day, which I wasn't a part of because other stuff to do. So I didn't really get to practice with the setup. So when it came to turn 1, I just understeered to the absolute moon, and yeah, it is what it is. I mean,
yeah, we saw you have that off there, and it didn't go well for you. I'm gonna be honest, the race didn't seem to go well for you at all. But
nah, it really didn't.
You managed to pull around. You did well to finish the race nonetheless. It's commitment to bringing it back round to the end. So congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Was there a limit on the fast repairs?
Yeah, 1 fast repairs limit.
Okay, so we were wondering why you had 1 longer pit stop and then 1 a bit shorter.
Yeah.
That explains. Anything you'd like to say about the championship, where we're going next? A little bit of a plug.
Yeah. So next up is Hockenheim, hoping to have quite a bit more participation. Unfortunately, Motorsport, as fun of a track as it is, it just isn't featured a lot in any official series or anything. So the participation here is very lacking, but hopefully Hockenheim will have a way bigger grid and some epic racing.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It'll be the first time that we see it in a league race, and we can't wait to see that happen. So if any of you guys are interested in joining or finding out, like I just said, there's a link to the Discord in the description below where you can sign up and get involved with it. Otherwise, have I got much to say from myself? Martin, have you got anything else to say?
No, other than sign up for the next round at Hockenheim. I think it's going to be some fantastic even racing there. It'd be fantastic to be able to commentate on a race there. I haven't even done a lap of it yet in iRacing, so I'm very much looking forward to that.
So I reckon it's going to be an absolute cracker of a race, and get on it. If not be there, be square. So from myself and everyone else at ISRC TV, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you tune in at the weekend for the 24-hour Le Mans. This is our Piste de Resistance race in the ISR EC Championship this weekend. So make sure you tune in and check that out, because it's going to be some awesome battling, awesome racing, and there's still 3 championships to be decided in that series. But until then, guys, thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you again next time.